Hello, my name is Kate Wexell, and I'm the founder of the Compass College Consulting. So look, we're going to have a real talk right now about college. So I didn't just go through the college admissions process once, but I went through it twice. So the first time I had absolutely no idea what I was doing, and the second time around I did it for very vain reasons because of what society had told me was acceptable versus not. But I know that some of you aren't even at that point, which is why I wanted to give you a couple of affirmations, because I was incredibly fortunate. I grew up in a middle-class family. I did not have to work to provide my family with income growing up. I did not have any parents that were dying of deadly diseases. I did not have any type of disease myself that prohibited me from doing all of these amazing things in the world. I did not have any of those boundaries. And in fact, I had very supportive parents who always told me that I would be going to college. And of course, it's like, what are you getting at here with this, Kate? What I'm saying is that even though I wasn't in that situation, I still felt like I struggled, which means if you're in those situations, how could you even possibly think of going to college? So I want to give you a couple of statistics, because here's the thing, even though everybody talks about college, even though it's across all of these different TV shows and movies, it's just this expected thing of people, it's really not. So in reality, with people over 25 in the United States, only about 45% of people actually have a college degree. Now that's gone up a little bit, but think about that even in comparison to other countries. Think about that in terms of a master's degree that we're all told that we need to have now. Only 13% of the US population even has a master's degree. So why is that? Well, the biggest deterrent for people is cost. Some other deterrents are people's families. Do you want to go far away from home or not? How can you even think of doing that whenever there are people back at home that need you? So let's break this down. With each thing that I'm going to say to you, I want for you to repeat it back to yourself. You are capable of going to college despite any other circumstances in your life, all right? If there is something physically prohibiting you from going to college, there are always ways to get around that. There are 504s, there are disability centers, there are people who will help you out, and that is literally their entire job, is to help you. And they're already available as staff members on campus. If there are other situations in your life, situations with your siblings, situations with your parents, situations with your family, here's the thing. I know because I watched most of my friends go through this. My mother went through this. And the thing is, it's so hard to sit there and feel like somebody else is suffering, but you can never help them until you help yourself first. It's like what a lot of people will say, where your health is the most important thing. Well, think about that in terms of your mind. Think about how many jobs you cannot have without getting a college degree that you are just simply not even eligible for. How much more money would that be to help your family get out of that situation and to help your siblings be able to follow a similar path, right? So if you don't take yourself out of an abusive situation first, if you don't get your headspace clear, you will never be able to go back in and actually fight the good battle. All right? It all starts there. I know when I moved to San Francisco, I was living in one of the worst drug dealing blocks in the entire United States. I was living in a neighborhood called the Tenderloin, which, despite all of the news articles about San Francisco, the Tenderloin is really the only bad part. And I would be talked to by drug dealers every day. I would be chased down the streets. I had people throw drugs at me one time. I had people, trying to hit on me every time that I went outside. I had drug dealers flipping me off, threatening to fight me. I was almost attacked on a train. Like, all of these horrendous things kept happening to me. And what I realized is I had joined this group to help combat homelessness in the area. But then whenever we would be going out into the community, I just felt so afraid. And I realized, okay, this is something that needs to be fixed because other people are feeling the same way too. Other people are feeling the same fear. But in order for me to actually be able to do something about it and be in the right headspace to feel sympathy and empathy and be thinking about what are the logical solutions, I have to get myself out of the space of viewing people as an enemy and viewing those people as something to be afraid of. So I had to move myself out of the Tenderloin. And it's the exact same thing for you with your home. Here's the next thing. You are capable of going to any college that you want so long as you understand the process to get there, all right? So you might be thinking, well, I want to go to Harvard, and it's clearly too late for me. My GPA is not good enough. I don't have the extracurricular activities that are needed. I don't have any of these things. I'm not wealthy, right? All of these different factors. And here's a couple of things that you might find out. So first of all, you might realize after going through this process that eventually that's not even actually the school that you want to be at anymore, because you really have to think deep inside of you, like, what do you really want, right? So I know when I thought about going to Northwestern, Part of it was that I did want to study social policy. Part of it was that I did want to focus on environmental policy within that. Part of it was that I wanted to make really, really good friends that were highly intelligent, highly motivated people. Part of it was that I wanted to live in Chicago. But a big, big part of it was just that I felt so insecure about myself because I hadn't gotten into a prestigious school before. And some of you might not even know what that school is. Some of you might be thinking like, oh, the prestige doesn't even matter. And you would be 100% correct. Because when it comes down to it, I had to really assess, all right, why do I want this? And the main motivating factor is I want to prove myself to all of the people who have been awful to me in life. Okay, and that is not a good reason to do anything and to change your life. And instead I thought, okay, well, here are the other factors that were very, very legitimate things. So I switched my major to public policy. I got involved in renewable energy policy groups as in internships. I moved to a city, not Chicago, but it had all of the same qualities of Chicago that I was looking for. And I started to live with a group of people that were highly intelligent and highly motivated, and I became friends with them. So you have to really just evaluate that. And then you can actually go through the process and you can go to whichever school you want. And I say that very truthfully. The first time that I applied to college, I did not get into those schools, but you can keep applying until you get in if that is what you really, really want. When I was going through the transfer process, I was with this group of transfer applicants from all across the world, and they were led by this guy named Joel Johnson. You can go check out his YouTube channel. Anyway, from what I remember him telling us, he had gotten terrible, terrible grades in high school. He had like a 2.0 GPA or something similar to that, and then he had joined the military. And now he's doing his Stanford MBA after finishing his undergrad at Stanford. So it's completely possible. I also knew other people within that group that had similar stories. You know, they had been in the workforce for years. They were coming back to college after 10 years out of the workforce. I was able to personally meet somebody who got into both Stanford and UC Berkeley and is currently attending UC Berkeley after she had worked at different retail stores throughout her life. And going into college then, she had this completely different perspective, and she knew exactly what she wanted from her degree, which is something that most people don't get. And so then the third thing that I want to affirm to you is that no matter what, you can afford college and there is a way. Now, that is not me promising you that you can attend the exact school that you dreamed of and be able to afford it, but that is me saying you can go to college. So there are all sorts of different ways. There are different methods that people don't even think about. The first step, you need to fill out your FAFSA. Right? If you are a US citizen, fill out the FAFSA. The government will probably provide you with money if you don't think that you're able to get it on your own. Second of all, if you are a low-income student, which usually means if your family makes less than $100,000, which I know it doesn't seem low income, but in the grand scheme of things, I know at least for me living out in San Francisco where most people are making like $250,000 a year, 100K does seem like low income. So if you do that, then try as hard as possible in high school. Do as many extracurriculars as you can, try to get the best grades that you can, because if you get into elite private schools, they will pay for your entire education. And if you go to state schools, there are a couple of different things that you can do, right? There are merit scholarships that are based on your GPA that you can automatically receive just from getting into those universities. There are scholarships that you can apply for. There are all sorts of other strategies. There are part-time jobs that you can do. There are a lot of scenarios where if you are in a certain threshold with your GPA in high school, then the community colleges will allow you to go for free. And I know that there's this big vendetta against community colleges, but from what I've seen, the people who go to community colleges turn out so much better, and they are much, much better human beings than a lot of people that I know that went to university first. So there is always a way. It may not be the easiest way. I know I've spent some time during college working 4 different jobs at the same time, or doing DoorDash and all of these different things, but it is possible. And it is possible to come out the other end without hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt. Now, here is the next thing that I'm going to tell you. You can go to college wherever you want, despite what your family thinks. And so this is going to be a really rough one. I know I have met so many people, and especially lately, who still think that like once you turn 18 that your parents have this huge tether on you. Like if your parents are paying for your college, great, perfect. You might maybe want to consider, following what they want just a little bit, but at the same time, if you really, really have a dream, I know that it probably was not my parents' dream for me to move across the country to San Francisco when I was going to school in the state of Missouri, only 2 hours away from them, and I could come back home on the weekends and visit, right? Like, it's kind of a long flight for them to get out here. But this was what I wanted, and this is what was best for me. you are on your own individual journey. And especially if your family is not helping you with the financial aspects of creating this new life of yours, honestly, some space might help. I know I found that within my family. Having some space from my parents has honestly made us closer, at least in my opinion. And so you just have to remember, in the end, it is up to you. Your parents are not living your life. Your parents are not going through the everyday. If you are going to be miserable in the life that they have chosen for you, you cannot live your entire life being miserable for them, because that is something that they are not going through. They are not experiencing your misery. They are experiencing their own misery from whatever is inside of them. Okay? You cannot fix that in them. They cannot fix the misery in you. If you know deep down what you want, there is always a way to make that happen. Okay? You just need to do your research, find all of the different possible opportunities for you to do the thing that you want to do, whether that's go to school in a different state, whether that's studying abroad, whether that's just even going to a school that they don't want you to. All right? There is always a way and a possibility. Okay? And with all of these different things, what I'm saying to you is really just take the risks. And I know that that sounds so incredibly cliche, but here's the thing. If you do come from a low-income background, if you do come from an underprivileged background, there are so many different systems in the world that are fighting against you, or not even necessarily fighting against you, because most people are not that incredibly vain and selfish, but it's just that there are some people who already have a leg up in the race, right? And just because you don't know that there are opportunities doesn't mean that they don't exist, okay? And so you have to have that intrinsic motivation, though, to understand you are down here where you're starting. There are other people that are starting here. And you have to understand that it is up to you. These people up here are not going to come back down and lift you up, all right? You are the only person that can lift yourself up. So with all of this, take the risk. Do the thing that you want to do your research, use Google, find out how to make it happen, and I am here to help show you some of the resources so that you can do that.